Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Candid Conversations with Darrell Fitzgerald is a show where you will learn something new. It's a show for the courageous that want to be engaged. A show where we discuss any issues that affect the lives of people. And a show where we take inventory of our lives decisions. Welcome to Candid Conversations with Darrell Fitzgerald.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations with Darrell, the show where we go in depth, we ask the hard questions that our viewers want to hear, and we never sugarcoat. On today's show, we're going to discuss a topic that's really important to the future of the City of Hartford. And that topic is the newly proposed development of the Rockets coming to the City of Hartford, and the what they call the stadium development. The New York, not the New York, but the New Britain Rockets are going to be leaving. Seems to be leaving the town of New Britain. There's some issues relevant to a lease expiring, as well as probably some money owed. And so there's been some development here in the City of Hartford by the mayor's office in proposing a stadium for the City of Hartford, just to make our viewers aware of what we're going to be talking about. Today we have a special guest named Ann Goshdigian from an organization who's going to be discussing the stadium development from a perspective of what many would say a criticism. She represents an organization, a grassroots organization called Stop the Stadium. And I just really want to thank you, Ann, for being on the show, Candid Conversations.
Darrell. I'm pleased to be here.
Thanks for coming.
And may I just say, the actual name of the coalition is the Hartford Coalition to Stop the Stadium.
Oh, pardon me.
That's quite all right.
Pardon me. What exactly is the stance of the Hartford Coalition to Stop the Stadium?
The Hartford Coalition to Stop the Stadium started out as a coalition to not use any taxpayer dollars at all for the proposed stadium. We've kind of morphed beyond that. Right now we are saying we do want to stop the stadium because we do not feel that this is a development project that will be of benefit to the majority of the citizens of Hartford.
Okay, when you say will not be of benefit to the majority of citizens in Hartford, can you expound a little bit more about why it wouldn't be beneficial to the city, to the residents of the City of Hartford?
I can. The way things stand right now, and what little we've heard, and let me stress that we have heard truly very little. Everything is still a little amorphous. Everything is still a little speculative about the stadium. At first, we were told that it would create 600 full-time jobs. And nobody really bought that. We were trying to figure out where these jobs would come from, and then they clarified saying, well, ancillary development. In other words, if people come to the ball game in the mass numbers that they're predicting, that many of them will stay overnight in a downtown Hartford hotel, that many of them will patronize a Hartford fine dining establishment while they're in town, thus creating hotel jobs and restaurant jobs. I think they also mentioned something about parking lots, jobs for parking lot attendants. Now that's all based on the numbers that they have a 9,000 seat stadium. I think it's actually 9,500 seat stadium. And they're estimating that at least 6,000 people will come to a game, and that 10% of those people, in other words, 600 people, who attend a minor league baseball game in Hartford will choose to stay at a hotel. And we feel that's a specious plan right there. We have a stadium in New Britain, And I don't believe that's done anything for hotel occupancy or even much for the restaurant industry. People come to a ball game to eat hot dogs and peanuts and have a beer and get in their cars and go home. That's what minor league baseball is. It's a family event. So right away, the job creation speculation does not sit well with us. And job creation is one of the major things that we advocate for in any kind of development that's going to be done in downtown Hartford.
Mm-hmm. In terms of revenues that could come into the city of Hartford, do you see any long-term financial benefits for the stadium coming to the city of Hartford?
It's hard to predict if there's long-term financial benefits. We would need to see numbers. We would need to see exactly how much the city is going to be, if you can use the expression, on the hook for the development. We don't know what these proposals contain. So if it becomes a financial burden to the city, no, that is not going to be a good thing, because other things are going to be cut to pay for that financial burden. And I see social services as one of the main things that is going to be cut. I already have evidence that social services are the first thing to go out of the Hartford budget when money is needed. And Hartford, as you know, is a city that's hurting financially.
So your organization has a major concern for any city funds funding the project, so that you know you don't want taxpayers' dollars.
We don't want taxpayer dollars at all, and we want to see numbers. The problem with the administration is, after they had their June 4th announcement of a done deal, there was a lot of pushback from the public because we had not been included at all. And even the city council was not included, and many of the state representatives from the Hartford area knew nothing about this announcement. So after all that pushback, and after all the feedback that they got both from our group and other unaffiliated residents of Hartford, we thought that transparency would become something we'd be getting from City Hall. But now it's been almost 3 weeks since those proposals, those RFPs were received, and we still have only gotten little dribs and drabs. Again, we're being told now that in September, after the city has chosen who will be the proposed developer, then and only then, after the decision has been made, is public comment going to be accepted. We feel that's wrong. The council feels that wrong.
Ms. Goshdigian,
oh, please call me Ann, Darrell. Yes.
And what do you know about the plan to financially fund the stadium project?
All we know right now is that out of the 4 RFPs they received, that 2 of them are for development, for comprehensive development in what they're calling downtown North, which I've always called the North End, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the name North End, but it's marketing-wise, it's sexier to give it a name like Dono. And 1 RFP did not meet the qualifications for proposal, so that one was eliminated. 1 RFP was for Hooker Brewery to move from Bloomfield, where they have a business, where they have people that are already in their employ, to build a new brewery on the site, or on the same property as the proposed site for the stadium, and open a restaurant to go along with that brewery. Now, again, they're already in Bloomfield. They're an established company. I cannot believe that they won't be bringing many of their employees from Bloomfield along with them if they move to Hartford. So that number of jobs may not be what City Hall is thinking about. The other 2 RFPs were from 2 companies that proposed building a stadium, building some housing development, and I've heard different numbers for the number of apartments. They have not said whether or not that would be affordable housing, which is an issue, because downtown Hartford right now there is much development, new development, as well as renovations of existing buildings into high-end and even luxury housing. We have plenty of that. They've also proposed bringing in a supermarket, which is a carrot that's been dangled in front of the people of the North End for quite some time now. We are in a food desert in Hartford.
I have a question. Would you agree that a significant amount of tax revenue would come to the city of Hartford with this stadium plan?
It depends. Again, we need to know what the developers are willing to put in. They are going to be, without a doubt, they're going to be looking for every tax break they can find. In fact, Mr. Cameron, who owns Hooker Brewery, went on record in the Hartford Courant as saying he's going to look for all the state money and every tax break he can possibly get. As far as the stadium goes, I know from what I've heard, and I'm not the financial wizard, I'm the media person, that as far as bringing tax revenue into the city, that may not happen. One of those proposals also included the construction of a new municipal building, municipal offices, which would again not be a taxpayer to the city of Hartford. As the City Hall is now, because we are renting it, it is tax revenue for the city. A new municipal building, which would cost, I'm sure, many millions of dollars, would not be on the tax rolls.
And at this moment in time, how much community involvement from, let's say, the voice of Hartford citizens is part of this stadium deal?
Darrell, it's growing. It's growing. Our coalition, we have about, 60 to 70 active members. Not all of them are speakers. Some of them work behind the scenes, and their jobs are also very valuable. So you may see a lot of the same people speaking, but our numbers are growing. We have a lot of interest, and there's a lot of people who are not affiliated with our group who are becoming aware and who are speaking up as individuals.
So at this point in time, do we have actual community activists, individuals who represent, let's say, like your organization, grassroots organizations, at the table in terms of the negotiations of the stadium deal?
We would like to be at the table. In fact, we are planning on doing some educational presentations, and we are going to invite the city council and the mayor to be at the table. We do have some people who have individually spoken or tried to speak to Mayor Segarra, and we have talked to council members individually. We do have one member on the council who is extremely supportive of us, and we have a couple more who are wavering. But at this time, we have been in front of council at so many open comments, at public hearings, and I will say that speakers, and anyone can speak, can sign up to speak. We have 15 people at any given event speaking anti-stadium, all from different angles of why we don't think it's a good deal, to one and possibly two people who are speaking as proponents.
So,
this does not seem to be moving the city council.
So at this present moment, there aren't any community groups at the table in terms of negotiations of the stadium deal.
We have members of the Blue Hills Civic Association who are part of our group and who are actually officers and NAACP people. We have Reverend Cornell Lewis. We have great support from Senator Eric Coleman. We are not part of his campaign. We're not part of his campaign, but he believes in what we are doing, so he has been supportive of our issue. We have canvassed broadly in the North End, speaking to the residents one-on-one and asking them how they feel about this idea, what they would rather see in its place. And I would say 85 to 90% of them are negative on the idea of the stadium. They don't feel that that is what the North End needs to bring it back into alignment with the rest of the city.
I just want the viewing audience to know that I did reach out to the mayor's office and via email, as well as through a couple of phone conversations, because I wanted to have a very balanced view in terms of discussing the pros and cons of this stadium deal. And I wanted the office of the mayor of the City of Hartford to be represented as well, and they're not here. So unfortunately, we don't have their vantage point in terms of discussing this issue. I would love to have had them here discuss the issue. So I just wanted to mention that to the viewing audience.
Yes.
When you talk to concerned citizens in the community, what are, like you mentioned that, you know, there's some issues in terms of Hartford being a food desert.
Yes, indeed.
There's lack of access to healthy, affordable food.
Absolutely.
And many of the residents aren't able to transport themselves to areas where they can have healthy,
Correct.
affordable food. So I know that that's been one of the other alternatives as far as something that they would like your organization have on the table in terms of consideration. What other ideas do concerned citizens of the City of Hartford suggest in your passing and your communication that they would like to have as far as a development project for the community, for the city?
I would say job creation is the main thing. The unemployment rate in Hartford is so high. And not only is it high, it's probably higher than we know because there are people who've just given up and people who are not receiving unemployment benefits, and they're not really tracked as among the unemployed.
Right.
Healthcare is another very important issue. We want to make sure that there is access to healthcare for everyone in the city who is uninsured and who needs it. Our schools are a major concern, particularly in the North End. We have very, very concerned parents who are organized to try to have needed repairs made to their schools. They are actually in a position where it's almost dangerous to send your children to some of these schools because the infrastructures of them are crumbling. And talking of infrastructure, roads are there's a huge problem with road repair in Hartford right now that has been dragging on for already a couple of years and appears that it will be dragging on some more. I know there's an issue with the MDC and the work they're doing, and the council says they are concerned about that and they are looking into it.
One thing that's interesting, I was talking to a concerned citizen recently, and they proposed an idea for the City of Hartford that would really create a lot of revenue for the City of Hartford. And that idea was to actually have the City of Hartford own instead of leasing the lots for parking,
Yes.
to actually have full ownership and run the parking lots. And it was suggested that at least one parking lot could earn, or not earn, but actually bring in somewhere in the realms of like $1.2 million as far as revenue. In fact, if they just owned all the parking, if it wasn't leased out.
Indeed.
So I thought that was a really concrete idea, maybe for some of the leaders to consider as a way of creating strong revenue for the City of Hartford.
It sounds like a wonderful idea, Darrell. Now, you are aware that the City of Hartford just sold their parking garage on Church Street to CRDA for $14 million.
Oh, for another private
using
entity.
that to offset the budget. And CRDA is, I believe, the Hilton Hotel and the XL Center, when it is finally renovated, will have access to that parking. But that was a city-owned parking garage. And just last Monday, it had been in the works for a while, the sale, but it just went through last Monday. So that's $14 million that the city felt they needed to offset their budget deficit. So again, yes, the parking lots would sound like it would be a wonderful idea, but they're in the business of selling parking rather than buying it right now.
Right. You know, Ann, we ran out of time.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And but I really do appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Darrell.
And educating our viewers about this issue. And we'd love to have you come on in the future.
Wonderful. And I would just like to say, we are people who care very deeply about this city. It's not about negativity. We really are about positivity, but we want to see the citizens have a voice in it.
Well, thank you, Ann, for coming on Candid Conversations.
Thank you so much, Darrell. Thank you.